everyone. Welcome to the That's How We Roll channel. Tonight, Dream Journal. And before we get started, we have one announcement. Idle Champions. Do you like to be a champion but also be idle? I'm trying to emulate Lee here. I'm not as good as him. But Idle Champions of the Forgotten Realm is a wonderful sponsor of this show, and we're so happy to have them support us. And you guys, for supporting us, can grab an Electrum chest code if you just type in Ohms Pake Wary. Once again, that's Ohms Pake Wary. So go get your Electrum chest now, play some idle games while you listen to Dream Journal, and hang around for a bit. Because tonight, it's all about Daniel DENOVA. You love
Oh
him.
God.
You love to love him. Daniel
Uh,
DENOVA. Tell us a little bit about yourself. Give us a quick introduction, just in case.
hey everyone, it's me, Daniel Dover. Hello everyone, it's me, Daniel DeNova. I am an illustrator as well as a voice actor for video games and animation, various other things. You may have heard me in some games around the block, Turbo Overkill, Path of Exile, yada yada. As well as some upcoming shows that are going to be really exciting to show you. There is going to be, no, I can't say that because NDA. And illustrations, and the paintings, a lot of the paintings for the show. Yeah, that's me. And I play Dhampir rogue, San Leon, a barbarian as well, because he's, he can get angry sometimes, rage. But yeah, that's me. So
San Leon, let's get into it. Everyone here, we've had a lot of questions come in from our wonderful viewers. Thank you so much. If you guys would like to ask a question, just use all caps question, colon, and then your question in chat, and we'll pick it up and answer it. It'll be great. So yeah, let's start off before we get into all the questions. How would you describe San Leon?
that's so open-ended. All right, I will attempt to explain San Leon. San Leon is essentially a character on the run. San Leon is and has crafted meticulously a persona over the time that he has been traveling. He's this sort of carefree exterior, sort of aloof, but on the inside there is a lot of worry, a lot of anxiety as to the current story unfolding, and has been since day one. You're starting to see it. So Leon is, of course, a Dhampir, so he is half mortal, half vampire. Hence why he can walk on walls on occasion. He can walk around the sun, and it's fine. It just kind of is not great. He doesn't like it, but he'll do it. And gods, he is a barbarian rogue. There is a reason for that specific choice. It was actually story related. Barbarian because of family stuff, I guess, and rogue because he was forced into that kind of vocation, I guess, to hide, to get good at covering his tracks, to be able to be off, or at least hopefully thinking he is off the radar for several hundred years. So, yeah, I don't know. I kind of went on tangent.
That's
Yeah.
perfect. I loved every second of it. No, it was
Hell
all
yeah.
very everything. It was all very informative about not only like who he is, but why he is, if that makes sense.
Yeah. Always, everyone asks, who is Saint Leon? They don't ask why is Saint Leon.
What? What?
I'm just pulling your leg.
What?
This-
I'm totally lost.
I'll just melt your brain. Don't worry about
Okay. Well,
it.
we just had a question in chat from Mama Strange. What is your favorite thing about playing a Dhampir?
Oh, well, I mean, there's that little thing that I've kind of been neglecting since I was a teenager of being like, oh fuck, I love vampires. Fuck, they're cool. But like
Hmm.
me just being like, nah, it's too cliche, dude. You need to do something else. And just being able to lean into that has been really it was like a secret emo me teenage dream of just being like, I mean, goth, whatever. And so I get to actually do that now. I'm just like, you know
Hmm.
what? I think I'm glad I did it now because if I did it when I was younger, it would have been so bad. I would like it would have been bad. So it's been really fun playing this like Dampier because a uh you can play all the kind of vampire stuff. But you can also still walk in the sun, and you can have like a pretty interesting story that you can write out for that because of the fact. So because you are from a lineage that is widely regarded as not great, but also having potentially a redeeming factor in another essence of your mortal side, it's really fun playing into that of like you are a monster or have the capacity to be a monster, but you also have the capacity to be a good person or a paragon. And that struggle between the duality is really fun to act out and play. Um, I would roll dice as to whether he listens and heeds the commands or the requests of others during combat, because when he's raging, it's hard for him to not keep all that back. Just been rolling really well. um, uh, yeah, and there's other little under the hood dice rolls that you are all unaware of, which is really fun. From Hope as well, actually, that we talked about. So I don't know. It's just been really fun. Getting it to actually explore what is widely considered a bit of a cliche. But fuck it. I'm goth as shit. So I really really like this. I think that's why it's fun for me. And climbing walls is fun with your feet. That just walking up walls. I try to not to abuse that because that could be quite annoying if I do it all the time. I'm just
Sure.
like I will do it pragmatically when it's required.
Mhm.
Um, yeah.
Um, yeah. Playing a Dhampir. I mean, I've never even thought about doing. I definitely had my emo phase for sure, my goth phase. So I definitely get where you're coming from. But yeah,
Yeah.
I think it was a great choice, and I think that Saint Leon brings so much depth to the group. So much like the big thing about Saint Leon, and here's like a question.
Hmm.
Um, the way you play San Leon with however it sometimes you're really serious and you have those moments of really deep introspection and then
Hmm.
sometimes you're just throwing all the puns everywhere and laughing at everyone and being super goofy. It's very Trigun of you. But what what is that just Daniel leaking through when things are funny, or is that actually premeditated to play San Leon that way? I know you always say that he puts on a face for
Hmm.
sure, but uh, do you feel like he's more silly than you originally planned him to be?
He's less silly than I planned him to be, actually. He was originally just meant to be just off the cuff,
Hmm.
like a gremlin piece of shit. That was obviously like at the start of the game. That at the start where he was just really that was meant to be the whole time, most of the time.
Hmm.
Um, but there was always this avenue of exploring more of like a that's not his true self, that's a face.
Yeah.
Although we're a face enough and it melds into one's being, so it is kind of him now to a degree, but it is kind of that somber, more, dare I say, I want to choose the words carefully because I don't want to like give away shit. I guess you see the age underneath the mask come through sometimes. So like how long he's lived, and
Mm.
uh his actual self is quite serious, warm, still, but serious and often quite somber because he's tired. He's
Yeah.
very tired. So he does have this side of him that is that, and uh, he subconsciously hides it at this point. So it's not something that he will actively just take out or off. The mask on its own whimsy comes on or off, much like when someone is masking in a social situation. Uh, you don't choose to put the mask on. It just kind of happens.
Yeah, it's like a defense mechanism.
Exactly that, yeah. It's
Yeah.
a defense mechanism. Yeah.
San Leon has lived for like, what is it, 436 years, 456 years? It's something.
Well, I got his thing. I'm literally just check. What did he? Boy, what's your age? Uh, how do you check that shit? Did I put it in notes? Or is there like an age there? I think it's like 479, I want to say.
Okay.
Uh,
Somewhere in the mid to late 400s.
yeah.
Um, I think my question is, in all of that time, and I'm sure there were ups and downs for San Leon, especially in the earlier days. What was San doing within the 50 years before he met the Misfits?
Well, he was traveling with another group. Um,
Hmm.
at one point, they traveled for, I want to say, 10-ish years, a decade. Would have lost a member or two, regained another one, and eventually just lost them to various unforeseen circumstances in traveling. Um, and then for a good 20 to 30 years, he would have just been alone. Not alone, alone. He would have, but he wouldn't have had friends specifically. He wouldn't have people to rely on. It would be like he'd go from town to town and just kind of be like, this is fun. We're having fun in a tavern. Ha ha ha. Now I leave. Um, uh, so as to, keep on the move. He's kept on the move for roughly 300 years, never really settling down too much. He would on occasion, and that would cause problems, whether it be from his family or just stuff happens. Like,
Causing
you know,
trouble?
either he was sometimes, or it would be trouble finds them. Either it's his doing or other party members' doings. But it would be that kind of thing. And as you would put it in game terms, TPKs would happen often, and he would survive.
Mm. Hmm.
So yeah, that's mostly what he's been doing. Uh, yeah.
How in your mind, I guess I don't know if we ever really established this, but how did Sen come to be a misfit? How did you come to join the group?
Well, that's because of Kotata.
Hmm.
So Kotata and San had been traveling for a fair bit beforehand. I forget the exact amount of time. I think it was between 6 months to like a few years.
Hmm.
Um, and so through Kotata, he just kind of hung around Kotata like a fly buzzing around one's head. He's like, I'm your best friend, and Kotata you'd be like, but also, he was useful. San was useful, so he would be able to do things that Kotatar couldn't, and Kotatar could do things that Tan couldn't. So it was quite complementary, and so through that kind of usefulness bond at first, which wasn't a friendship, I would say a friendship did begin to blossom, but it was always kind of like joked about. It was a real friendship, but it was also like, I'm your best friend, and you're like, no, like bestie, shut up, like,
Do you
like
think
the yeah.
do you think that that might have been an, what's the word, like an overdoing, and the fact that, Sen has lost so many friends that he like overcompensates when he talks about like, making someone else a friend? I don't know if that makes sense, but like, he's lost so many friends. I thought I would think that he'd be a little afraid to get close to people again.
Absolutely. Well, I mean, harkening back to Silver
Hmm.
originally saying, "Hey, look, I'm finally starting to feel like maybe I like these guys." San had that moment maybe 10 episodes before that, but he just was silently judging everyone all the time.
Mm.
I think I alluded to it in game. Like I would just be like, "Oh, he's judging." He's just watching silently.
Yeah.
Like he was smiling, but he's just like, I'm seeing how these people act to kind
Mm.
of gauge them on the inside to just kind of be like, oh yes, of course. Are they going to make a stupid mistake? No, they didn't. Good. All right. But he wouldn't say that out loud.
Hmm.
So for a lot of reasons, one of them would be he wants to know if these people have a good survivability rate and they're not stupid.
Yeah.
He wants to know if they would be able to um, not freak out, I guess, if they accidentally learn things about something ahead of time before he was
Yeah.
ready to tell them.
Right.
Um,
That's big.
because learning that stuff that's actually in his backstory is kind of like puts people in danger, I guess. So I mean, they've always been in danger, but they now know that they're in danger, kind of thing.
Yeah.
And that is so he's kind of gauging whether how honest to be with people, whether it could be subconscious or not. And yeah, he's lost a lot of people. So like he's like, I don't know if I want to get too attached to people. I can make acquaintances, but I don't know about friends.
I think San Leon has the most in-depth backstory of any of the characters. So, and it's just been so chock full of like really juicy, good things to pull out in a role-playing session. So really great job in creating all of that. I do want to highlight what Fervent Dreams said. He said a TPK would definitely make a social mask that doesn't come off often or easily, and I can definitely see
Yeah.
that with Sen.
Yeah, that's a huge one. Like it's
Yeah,
it's just all that death has just kind of like solidified the mask.
yeah,
Yeah, double-sided
um,
tape and all.
exactly. Well, let's get into some questions that we got on our Discord. I
Cool.
feel like I've stolen the thunder a little bit, but really great responses there. So we're gonna start with a question from Fallen Angel. So, Fallen Angel, this is a good segue. How has San Leon changed from the 6 episode prologue to now? How much of a backstory did you have for San when you created the character? So, kind of a two-parter.
Okay, so the maturity of the character, or I suppose the character development, has been large, actually. He's gone from this mask is always on, aloof, uh, tries to play off all the situations, isn't really friends with anyone, possibly slightly friends with Kotar, but
Hmm.
still keeping Kotar at arm's length to a degree, which I would imagine was actually quite reciprocated, like that kind of arm's length friend
Yeah.
at the start. Um, he is now able to take the mask has is cracking quite a bit. He's able to take it off on occasion.
Yeah.
Um, he's able to show that that he cares, because he cares a lot. Um, he cares a lot, actually. Like his empathy is quite high,
Hmm.
but he's just been stifling it, like pushing it down. Um, so now that that's happened, he's able to be a bit more empathetic, and he was, of course, at the beginning. Like when he traveled with more people, he was quite empathetic, and that just soured over time, and that became apathy because of the defense on his mask. That is able to come through now more, so he's able to care more about his compatriots, his companions, and so on. And he's been able to be less afraid of his family, though it's still very much there. Make no
Hmm.
mistake. I mean, it's hard not to be afraid of what's to come to a degree, but he would see that as not a necessarily bad thing, and it's not a crippling fear anymore. least he doesn't think so until he's actually in the thick of it. We don't know yet, but
Mm,
for now it's not, and that's a huge push. There's been bits where, he would say he thought he saw his father in the bushes through his
mhm,
paranoia, and Kotachi turned around, shot at the tree, even though he knew nothing was there,
mhm.
and that was a big show of faith, and that helped push like a trust thing with him.
Yeah.
Yeah, so I'd say it's come quite a lot. What was the other part of the question?
Let me pull it up. How much of a backstory did you have for Sen when you first created the character?
Um, a good 2/3 of it. We already actually
Just
had
for the
mostly.
six episodes that we originally were planning?
Yeah, I always write. I don't care who the character is. I'll write a backstory.
Yeah.
Um, it's good because it also means that you can recycle the character later if you actually want them in a campaign.
Hmm.
Funny that. But yeah. Wait. Damn, this has been such a long 6 episodes.
Yes.
Um, but yeah, like that's why I do it. Like it's just in case. But also,
Yeah.
it makes me connected to the character even for just a one shot. It just means that like I can be the character, and even though we're trying on shoes, and yeah, let's be honest, it takes a few sessions to fully get into a character properly.
Hmm.
Um, it really is like trying on a new pair of shoes and breaking them
Yeah.
in. Um, Writing the backstory is like getting the little shoehorn before you put the shoes on.
Yeah.
So it makes it easier, and so
Yeah.
that's why I do it. But yeah, about 2/3, and then we fleshed out more of it over time.
Right.
Yeah.
Um, let's see here. Let's pull up a question from. Okay, so we've had this question kind of came from we definitely had it from Cassius, as well as from Lee Goldberg in chat. Um, let's take it back to the little things you've been learning about what's been going on with your family right now, since it's been so long. You recently discovered that maybe this might be true or not, but through a premonition and through a scrying event, that Saint Leon has a little brother named
Yeah,
Axel.
that's quite sobering for him, but it makes sense. Like when he learned this, like he had a lot of flood of emotions, but one of them was just like a cold realization that he's like, oh, yeah, well, of course I do. Um, like if I wasn't found for that long, and of course I'm subordinate when it comes to what my father probably thinks of me. Of course he would make another son. Like that's just what he would do because
Yeah.
he's a piece of shit. So so there's that part of it, that kind of calculated, and then he gets that calculation from his father. Like there's this part where he goes, "Yes, of course, I know what's going on. This is stupid. Or
Mhm.
possibly like, that makes sense because of this." Um, However, he doesn't want whatever plan his father has to actually work out for Axel. He doesn't know. I don't think he even knows the name of this child at this point. Um, I think, unless of course, I believe it was David actually said it out loud. If
I
not,
think
then
he
he doesn't.
did. Yeah.
Because yeah,
I'm not
he would know
sure.
the name then.
Yeah.
Oh, we'll see. He'll find out at some point if he doesn't know. But I would say he has no connection to this child in terms of like actual connection, not like his sisters. But at the same time, he knows what his father had vaguely planned for him to
Hmm.
a degree by the end of it. Not to the full extent. He just had inklings and such. He was like, I need to get out of Dodge. And he does not want that to befall anyone,
Right.
even though he doesn't have much of a connection with the child.
Well, a question from Goldberg. Do you think there is any interest in Sen to learn more about Axel?
Oh, absolutely. Yeah, like, another child with a premonition now, especially of him being like, my daddy is the best. Ha ha ha. You're a piece of shit, San Leon. Um, yeah, he'll be like, yeah, what's going on there? I mean, obviously, yeah, my father is very good at like manipulating people. That's what he does. Um, but still, he doesn't remember himself being that enamored with his father when he was that young. Like he thought he was an upstanding guy, which is kind of shitty, but like, because
Mm-hmm.
he's like a paladin. I want to be a knight. I want
Mm-hmm.
to be a knight or a paladin or something with all these books I read. But he was never that enamored to what he saw, and he doesn't know. He like because he's been around for a while. He's like that could just be a manifestation of what Axel might be like or not. He
Well,
doesn't know.
see, and that's actually
So
Cassius's question. He says, "How much of San's recent conversation with his little brother does San and or Daniel believe was Axel's actual personality, or just a
um,
premonition, just how he might picture him in his mind?"
Sam's writing it off right now,
Mm-hmm.
but he would think that if it is a premonition, yikes. If it's not a premonition, it's probably a manifestation of what he thinks his father might do to another child.
Mm-hmm.
So either way, like he said, he's probably thinking it's fairly accurate, but there might be discrepancies.
Let's see. Um, Let me see if there's a related question. Um, yeah, let's see. Da, da, da,
asking for
da.
asking for
What?
a gnome with a scry. How many sisters, and what are their names?
Oh,
How many siblings even?
yeah, there you go.
Yeah.
Um, there's an interesting question from Lee as well.
Mm.
Did at one point San ever fall in line with the family?
Yeah, I mean, like he fell in line for a good uh portion of his life, like when he was young until um probably about when he was 18. That's when he started to question things a bit. So yeah, I mean, he would train with his father. He would his eldest sister was only a few years younger than he was, so they'd train together.
Hmm.
His sister was vastly superior to him with physical combat. But that's neither here nor there. That's I don't want to say too much about that. And yeah, like he didn't think ill of his family because he thought that they were on the side of unification and justice and so on and so on. And we're going to help. And I've read all these fantasy books and we're going to help this whole continent. That's what my dad keeps saying. And we're going to do that together as a family. And we're going to, and then like, as he started learning more and, he would travel around, the various neighboring villages and such, who, of course, were more or less fine. But there was just these little things that would tip one off that something isn't quite right. The
Yeah.
curfews, the various things that would be like, yo, this is pretty stringent, but there is like it's like that subtlety of um a very subtle totalitarian rule, but it feels normal when you're there.
Yep,
But
for
if you
sure.
read enough outside of it and you read enough books and you get enough knowledge, you start to go, wait a minute, this this doesn't line up. I don't think that something's wrong. So yeah.
I think in that line, we have a question from Mama Strange saying, "What does San see as the best possible world?"
Best possible world is probably, I mean, he's very pragmatic. He's pragmatic but with idealisms.
Yeah.
So they battle with each other a bit. So the pragmatic side comes from obviously all the shit that he's been through. The idealism comes from his childlike wanderlust to the ideal of being better and being a paragon. So he wants that. He wants there to be shining examples of what being good actually is, but he also realizes that that's either hard won or impossible
Hmm.
to get exactly how you want it, but it's still worth fighting for. Um, Now, before he would have just been like, I'm ignoring all that, but now it's different. So his perfect worldview at the moment, he would say would be one without his family in it, or at least he's unsure about certain parts of his family, but most of his family. One with like what his idea of a unified nation would be, which is proper trade routes, individualism, being able to travel and traverse the country without prejudice. Yeah, you know, all that kind of shit. But he's also like, however, that is hard to achieve. Um, yeah,
But maybe still possible.
but absolutely, maybe still possible. That's still something that he thinks of. He's like, and also because he's very old, like he can become very old. He acknowledges that. Unlike a lot of mortals, he could actually see it happen in his lifetime.
Yeah. And he could be the change he wants to see.
Yeah, but be the change. Yes, yes, indeed. Yep.
um, we'll take it back for a little bit. Back
Take it back
to, we
now.
have a lot of questions about your relationship slash friendship with Kotatar.
Mhm.
Seems to be a fan favorite. So we have a question from Fallen Angel that says, "How did Sans' friendship with Kotatar? How was it discussed with Jacob before you started playing? Was it at all, or did
A
it just
little
happen
bit.
organically?"
It was talked about a bit. We had maybe like one Zoom call
Hmm.
that was just basically like, all right, how would they vaguely interact?
Okay.
And it was more like they would be friends. Actually, I think they'd be friends. I think it would. It's very. If has anyone ever seen that picture of like it's like this goth looking chick and then this rainbow head looking chick?
Yeah.
It's like that.
Wait, but who's
But
the rainbow chick?
that's actually Sanleon, even though
Okay,
he's
okay.
he's goth on the outside. He's a bit of a fucking goofball at the
Yeah, yeah,
start.
yeah.
So
That makes sense.
um, that's kind of where we thought it would go. Um, yeah, that was basically the extent, and then it just naturally progressed from there.
Um, what does this is for Mama Strange? What does Sans see in Kotatar? They both started out very aloof. What changed that for Sen?
There was similarities. What Kotatar is on the outside is what Sanleon is on the inside.
Mm-hmm.
Um, and even though he'd buried it deep, that resonated with a part of him that he couldn't quite explain, and so he felt that he wanted to stick around. Um, and learning that Kotatar actually does have a sort of sense of humor deep buried down. It's almost like they're kind of the yin and yang. But anyway, yeah, it's basically that was the big one that kind of sparked it. It's just like, wow, you're a lot like what I'm feeling, but on the outside.
I mean,
And yeah,
I still remember that very first watch you guys had at the brick house in episode 3 of the prologue. I mean,
mm,
that just sticks with me every time, that the first time that you guys really had a chat on the roof of that house.
yeah, we have a lot of roof chats.
Yeah,
Like a lot of the characters. I think it's a thing now. I think it's
it
like speak
is.
on top of things
Yeah.
while all your companions sleep below
Yeah.
somewhere. That's usually the way of it. And it started with that damn brick house. Yep. Yes, yes, yes. No, it's good. I think those chats are fun. I think that, and it's really funny with the dome so far. Like like being able the ability to slide off the dome by accident is
Yeah.
quite funny. It's like, so what do you think? And the other person going like like sliding off. Like yeah.
Kind of in the same vein of your relationship with Kotatar, we're going to shift over. This is also a question from Fallen Angel. San is very patient with Reginald. What
Yep.
does San see in Reginald that makes him believe in him?
He sees him like a little brother to a degree.
Oh.
He sees him like a little brother that he needs to take under his wing and help from on occasion. He sees potential, and it's kind of bearing fruit now.
Hmm.
That there was this uh, what's that saying? What's that like? It's like a quote. Um, I see the statue buried within. All I'm doing is removing the excess rock.
Hmm.
So it's more of just that yeah, like he's even though it's all the stuff he sees a similar individual who has this stoicism inside, this hurt, and is created a mask in a different sense of I need to please my family instead
Mm-hmm.
of leave my family. And he sees that and goes, could that have been me if I had not left the
Oh, wow.
continent?
Yeah,
So he kind of wants to help him get out of that shit.
for
um,
sure.
yeah.
That's wow. I didn't think about it that way. That's really beautiful.
Aw. Yeah, Sam the deep boy.
No. Um, I think when you say deep, okay, we're gonna get a little deep here. We're gonna tackle some
Okay.
things. Okay. So let's go back to has Sen always wanted to be a storyteller slash writer?
Has Thanos wanted to be a storyteller slash writer?
Mm-hmm.
Uh, is he? I thought he was just starting to like get into painting.
Yeah.
I mean,
So that.
I would say he's had an infatuation with stories because
Mm-hmm.
of all the stories he's read. I don't think he'd be consciously thinking about being a storyteller,
Mm-hmm.
um, but he's he started taking up painting because the man he was going to marry was a
Mm-hmm.
painter. So, um, and he's tried on occasion, but he's never been able to stay in one place to do it. And that one time where we were staying in Limbo, he was like, "Gods, I might as well try. We have time. I'll do that and just settle with my emotions and paint something god awful because I'm not good at it, but I'm gonna try and get better." And so it was the start of that, and playing music with Nero, you know.
The painting, like in all the, because the man that Sen wanted to marry,
Hmm.
that happened like 400 years ago, right?
Oh yeah,
So in all that 400 years, had Sen never made the time to paint until Limbo?
always on the move.
Always on the
He
move.
tried. I say he tried a couple of times. Like he would try if he was settling down, but something always bad at like actually like sidewinded him
Hmm.
and his compatriots at the time or whatever, and he'd had forced to move, and obviously he'd leave whatever supplies behind and just keep going. So he never had the time to actually properly leave. Yeah, so 400 years. I mean, you got to put it in perspective. 400 years of being on the run,
Yeah,
like in his mind, being on the run.
yeah.
So he never had time for almost fucking anything. Like it was, yeah,
Hmm.
it was very much fleeting stuff that he only had
It's
time
more
for.
about surviving than it was about living.
Surviving and trying to live through fleeting luxuries. Yeah.
Yeah. And in those 400 years, Sen never found anyone else that he may have loved more than before?
He didn't have time, and he also created a kind of block inside his mind. He did, of course, love this individual, but he also felt that it was best that they hadn't, because of what his father's done to his mother. Um, he reads more and more about vampires and what they're capable of, and the fact that vampires, vampire lords, and whatnot, their emotions are a a pale echo of what a real emotion actually is. And he's always a fear that that's what his emotions are.
Hmm.
Um, a little less so now. It's not that he's directly confronted it in his mind, but it's just that he's starting to just feel things more. Um, so on that, he's read in books that love for a vampire is not love. It's cruel obsession. It's
Mm.
it's uh it's fanatic obsession about something that is theirs, that they see as theirs. It is not love. And so he's worried that that's might be what he would have actually caused. Like this was not something he was thinking when he did leave, but it was just like 50 years after that. It slowly built into this kind of like um this kind of mindset. So he just feels like that's where he's at right now. He has the if that wasn't a thing, he'd have a very big capacity for that, but it's just a huge block. Yeah.
Sure. Wow. Um, I think we have a question from Cassius. We'll go for about the painting.
Hmm.
Cassius says, "How would San do with drawing instead of painting? A sketchbook is probably smaller, at least."
He'd probably like that, but it's not something he thought about. Like
It's really
he's
it's
like,
really the painting that like connects you with that past.
yeah, it's like
So,
his uh yeah, his one love at the time was a painter and a musician. So yeah.
do you think that San was so young when he fell in love, and now he's so much older? Do you think that like bright-eyed, you know, optimistic kind of look on love that, it could be possible for you, like that kind of died out with time, or do you think it's still there?
I mean, it was semi-answered before with the fact that like with time and with knowledge, he feels like he specifically um won't be able to achieve that. Um Not to say he can't, but he has a
Mhm.
lot of mental blocks in the way of being able to do anything with that. Unless someone came along and blew his socks off, and just shattered the barriers somehow,
Yeah.
um, or he worked on it for years. One of the two is probably how I'd see it going down if that was a thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
So yeah, time did affect it absolutely.
I think in that same vein, we have a question from Duval King Jacob, who says, "Did the limbo trip and downtime change San Leon in any way?"
Yeah. For a little bit, he got what he wanted, which was a simple life of a house with friends, and just being able to exist, um, pretending that they didn't have to go anywhere or do anything, and it was done. And um, before the reality of the situation, and yeah, they had to leave. They had to go back to dealing with the crises at the time.
Hmm.
Um, so it did change him, and it solidified that that's what he wants. He wants
Right.
to be able to settle down, at least for a while, and just exist and
Hmm.
stop running and have a simple life with friends that he knows aren't in mortal danger every other day. Um, yeah,
How
yeah.
long do you think he could live like that before feeling the itch to adventure again or to run again, maybe?
He believes it could be roughly a human's lifespan.
Okay.
So roughly between 50 to 100 years.
Hmm.
Um, Maybe doing small trips in between, but it would be like very inconsistent trips. Like it'd be like once every other 3 or 4 months he might go on a small trip for a week, but it'd be more to visit people he's met along his travels. Yeah.
I think coming back to these are going to be the hard-hitting questions. A fallen angel says the backstory of the Water Ganassi bard, who they can't remember the name of, really made them tear up. What inspired this story?
Um, I'm a huge fan of tragic love stories,
Hmm.
so I've written a few already. It's I love the idea that you almost have something and it's just taken away like that, and then you need to deal and pick up the pieces. The characters, not me. The characters. Not wouldn't wish that on anyone, but for characters, it's really fun. So, um, uh, Petrichord is actually another one of my player characters, weirdly. But I just almost never get to play him, and so I figured
Mm,
it would be fun to just write him in because it's already a character I have on hand. It doesn't take much like effort to supplant them into a story,
right.
and having him be it would make sense that because they're two similar characters in terms of their personality, except Petrichord is by and large what San based his mask on.
Hmm.
So Pet
They're
Record was this, very, rambunctious individual. And of course, very silly, lots of puns. And shone a light in San Leon's eyes, and he was just like, "This is great. I love this. What the fuck? Where has this all been all my life? I love how
Mhm.
just happy this person is all the time."
Yeah.
Um, and whereas San is more of a somber, methodical, slow individual on the inside, so he kind of grabbed that personality over the few years and then used it as a mask. Wow, that was not the question answered, but sorry.
I think it was. It makes me think back to the very first time you guys went into town. You went into Sackville, and you changed into that character, if I remember
I did.
correctly.
I
So,
got Samuel to change into the character. He will use him as a very
as a literal
melancholy
mask.
disguise.
Mm-hmm.
Um, to be closer to him and the memory of him, whilst utilizing a real personality that he's been around for so long.
Yeah. Even though it's been so long since you've seen or been with this person, that
Mm.
memory seems to stay so fresh in your mind.
Yep, yep. Yep. Yeah, you don't forget certain aspects of your life. It's like a snapshot, right? Like he's lived
Yeah.
for 400 something years, so he'll remember great details of his life, but he won't remember everything clear as day. But that he remembers, and he'll remember most of the years that he was able to hang around that one.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah.
I think there's one more question in regards to that. Let me see if I can find it. Oh, yeah. So, how does San, this is from Mama Strange. Thank you, Mama Strange. How does San feel about music now?
It's one of the few. Not much music has been played in game. In places like there's not been many bards playing. Nira has played occasionally.
Hmm.
Um, it is one of the few things that will break through his mask almost instantly. Music will. So he will be enchanted. He might cry. He might get very happy. It'll all just break through. So when music, it's interesting because it hasn't been done too much, and it has to be, different music will just affect him in different ways. So he loves music, and he loves that it reminds him of good, bittersweet times, I suppose.
Hmm.
But it's going to be something that always breaks through his well crafted mask almost immediately.
Does this is also from Mama Strange, a continuation of that? Do you see him playing music again?
He may very well be able to. There was an attempt with Nira, and he was almost playing again, but he couldn't keep it up because of the emotional strain, I guess.
Yeah.
It's one thing to hear music; it's another thing entirely to play because that's what uh, I guess his fiance was teaching him
Mm,
was to play and to be intimate through music. Um, and so when doing that again, those emotions come back, but then he realizes he's not there anymore. He's not in front of him. His friend is, absolutely, but he'll never be in front of him again.
does how to put this? How much animosity is devoted to this situation of losing him over, like, by his father? Like how much of the animosity that he has towards his father is devoted specifically because of this event that happened?
God, swaths of it, large amounts. Like there's about half of it is probably that. The other half is just what his father stands for,
Hmm.
and what he does, and what he has done to him and others around him. But yeah, like a good half of it is just this motherfucker has taken away an avenue of happiness from me, and I was actually going to take him with me, and he got to him first.
Yeah.
Um, and as said in that talk with David, he burned down villages, and there were just signs placed haphazardly with notes that were absolutely geared towards Saint Leon, saying, "You did this." Did you not catch that when I was talking about it?
I might have missed it. Yeah.
Okay, yeah, no, there was basically he described that there were like these picket things put in. It's like when a village has been burned in order of blah blah blah. This has been decimated or condemned, but instead it just said you did this, and of course no one would understand what that means, but Sand did, and that was at the 4 villages that he passed through, including the one that housed his fiance.
And that was simply because you decided to leave?
Yeah, he just found out, but of course he couldn't catch him in time, so he decided to hurt him instead
Wow.
as a punishment. Just like, I knew that you were going to these villages. I know you're trying to sneak out to go, but I already knew you were going there. I always knew that. I just allowed it as a trifle. But now I'm taking your toys away from you
How
because you've been
long
a
do
bad son.
how long do water genasies live?
It really depends on the other race that they are from, because Genasi
Uh-huh.
is a genie or
Yeah.
elemental
Right.
that copulates with a mortal. It could be
Mm-hmm.
an elf, it could be a human, it could be a tabaxi, whatever.
So what was Petrichord's other half?
It probably would have been because there was quite a lot of elves on the continent. The continent's snowy, mostly, um, and so there's yeah, um, probably an elf.
Okay, so
I
they
wouldn't
would have had
quite
a
know.
long life. Like
Yeah,
you wouldn't have to be that son fell in love with someone more so mortal that they knew that they would only be able to be with them for, 100 years.
yeah,
Yeah.
yeah. I mean, I can't say that because that's story spoiling. But yeah, yeah, yeah.
Okay. I just love it. It's such a well thought out little story point, and the fact that you have finally been able to share it in some amazing ways is just it makes me happy to I don't know, your sad stuff makes me happy. No, it's like you're really good. You've done really well with like building this backstory, and I'm glad that we're getting to see it, finally, because I think for a long time you're really good at just keeping it under wraps and only letting out a little bit, like really holding on to it. So I think this was a really big drop that I'm really excited to learn more about as we talk about it tonight.
No, the big drops are fun. Like, but I don't see. The thing is it doesn't feel like I'm bursting at the seams to hold on to it because everyone else's stories are so fun to interact with and just allow I say allow to just play out
Hmm.
in front is just so good to just be on the backbone. I mean, I often play characters that are like support characters, so
Yeah.
I've never had a campaign ever go into any of my characters' backstories before. Um,
Really?
nope, nope. Had have these elaborate backstories, and I never minded that because it was
Yeah.
just there if it was to be utilized. Though I'm not
Sure.
saying this as a oh man. It's more of just a okay because there were other stories that were just as great and were great to play through.
And I guess
It's an odd feeling.
the
Yeah.
backstory also plays in building your character and really well
Yeah.
running out your character's decisions and stuff. So it's good to have.
Yes.
But
Exactly. Yeah.
I as a DM am always looking for material, and everyone had made such great material with their backstories. It was like, how could I not, you know, take all of this amazing work that you guys have done and allow it to be seen.
Yeah. I mean, Codadas was such a great one to travel through because we literally went to fucking limbo, which, by the way, not easy to play as a DM at the best of times. But you did really well with that. Like it
Oh,
was just such a good time. Yeah, fucking loved Limbo and loved seeing the city come back to life. Loved seeing the fact that maybe, the whole civilization was about to collapse, but we helped uh bring that back and
mhm.
oh, and then I'm going on a tangent about other people's stories. Yeah, but no, I don't like my story can be even if it's not explored. you can use that as a way to converse with other characters. You don't
Sure.
need to potentially resolve it. A story isn't there to be resolved. A story is there to be lived and read. So if it doesn't actually resolve, that in itself could be a resolution or a cliffhanger. It doesn't fucking matter as long
Right.
as you're having fun doing it. That's just my take on it, and that's why I'm okay with my stories not usually being like, it's fine. Yeah.
Well, that's pretty much all the questions. Of course, I have a couple, but if you guys have any last minute questions as we
Cool.
kind of end our hour here, feel free to throw them in. Um, let's go with some of my questions because I
Alrighty.
know they're going to be a little harder to answer, and a lot of them you're probably not going to be able to answer without giving stuff away. But my questions
Yeah.
are about the future. So
Oh, fun.
I think it's come to this point where everyone in the party understands. Which one did I miss, Lee? Oh, if San could take one attribute from each of his party members, what would they be? Okay, we'll take some time to do this one.
An attribute. And what would I do with this attribute? Do you mean just incorporate it into Sam's personality and
Yeah, I
or
think so.
existence, or
Yeah. So,
okay. Uh for Nira, I would say taking the ability to just go like, well, what about that? And just being correct on that specific thing, with just such a nonchalant like answer that's just like off the bat, like, yeah, it's
yeah.
this, and being
Yeah.
like, didn't overthink it. It was just that, and then it was correct, and it was fine, and then we move forward. And that would be one thing that would take from Nira. I think for David, it would be um, David's. That's hard because on the practical sense, the cooking's fucking awesome.
Yes, I was gonna say the
But
cooking.
um, I would probably actually say his insight.
Oh.
Um, he knows a lot of cooks, and when you learn to actually cook well, it becomes more of a art form than something that you eat to enjoy. So he likes the idea that he can't cook too well, but can cook, and so it means he can enjoy other people's cooking
Hmm.
more. Um, I would say it would be David's insight onto situations, people, and being able to like kind of pick them apart for the betterment of that person and in a non-intrusive way. He likes that a lot about David. Um, for Kotatar, it would be that confident. No, actually, for Kotatar, it would be the fact that he actually has a husband.
Oh, that just hit me so hard.
Yeah.
Oh. Okay.
Yeah. I mean, he tries to live slightly vicariously through him. He's just like, this is
Hmm.
great. You live
Yeah.
your best life. I love that you have a husband.
Yeah.
Um, but yeah. Um, I see you, chat. Yeah.
You got
Um,
everybody on that one.
yeah. Uh, but if it wasn't like, because that's not exactly a trait. That's more just like a. If it was a trait, it would be from Kotar, the ability to wear the stoicism on their sleeve confidently.
Hmm.
Um,
I see.
that's quite a boon in a lot of situations, and has rarely been a hindrance. Sometimes it's led to some funny situations, but yeah. For Silver, um, see, that's difficult because Silver isn't actually all that easy to read in terms of like what's been outwardly pushed in terms of um,
Well,
I would say,
maybe that's the
yeah,
attribute, being able
yeah,
to not be read.
yeah. It's like I don't even know. Yeah, like it's hard to know if that's intentional or not. I think it is intentional, to a degree, but also there's certain times where it's not. It's just
Hmm.
you know,
Just
there's
your
no
shield.
place to read, and
Yeah.
you don't need to read me, but I don't need to show anything.
Yeah.
Um, and I think that it could be that. It could also be, uh, I would say, oh shit. See, it's really similar to co-stars, but it's just this ability to just kind of go like, have you tried not being a dumbass? Like kind of um approach to talking to other people and it actually kind of clicking a bit. So in a sense, it's almost like a matter is it's like a weird meld of Kotatar's stoicism and Nira's ability to just be like, well, have you tried this? It's right in the middle where it's not a problem, it's something to do with a person and just being like, have you tried not being dumb?
Hmm.
Like being able to do that with people and just being like, less words but more effect on that.
Yeah.
Uh, I would say, yeah, that's sort of Reginald, interesting.
Yeah.
A trait from Reginald. A trait from Reginald that he would want? Um, because the problem is that in a lot of ways they're actually quite similar.
Mm.
So it's just it's like if you saw gauges, like bars across like a bar graph, they have similar traits but at different levels of the bar graph. So it's hard to it's like it's like as if we each one of them chose a different path at some
Yeah.
point in their life
Yeah.
and it went in a direction.
What about his? I feel like Reginald has a little sense of optimism that people don't have, like, like the
I
rest
mean
of the
that's
group.
seems like the mask, but it
Mm.
could be the mask mixed with a little bit of optimism that's amplified by the mask, I think.
Or perhaps some
Um,
naivety,
or a
like,
naivety, yeah. I mean, shit, if he could have naivety back though, he would love that,
yeah,
honestly. But I don't
yeah.
actually think that Reginald is naive. I think that he puts that on. Um, I think that he's well aware of the situation actually, but
Mm.
he felt he didn't have the strength to deal with it, and so he would hide behind a mask. Um,
Okay.
yeah.
Is
Anyway,
that
uh,
is that all
so
of them?
no, no, I don't think so. There's wait, who did I do? I did. Coach. There's five of us, right?
Mira, Kotatar, Silva, David, and Reginald.
Yeah,
They did.
there's six of us, but there's me,
Yep.
and that's what I was
And
thinking
then
of because I always, yeah. Okay, yeah, that's the question answered. Haha.
um, we had a heartbreaking question in chat from Ridian from Fallen Angel. Does San ever change into petrichord and stare into a mirror just to see him again?
Did we ever decide if he could actually see himself in mirrors? I keep
We
asking this
decided
question.
that he could. Yeah.
He can. Okay, yeah.
Yeah.
Yes, he's done that. Yeah, he doesn't do it often. He did it a lot when he was younger. He barely does it at all now, if at all, because he knows that's quite destructive.
Mm,
Um, so he would rather not do that. And he slowly built a kind of resolution to I shouldn't do that.
yeah,
Mm.
I can see that. But sometimes it might be tempting when you're feeling really down.
But he knows it will make him feel worse.
Yeah, fair.
Like it used to be like, it's a comfort, and then he realizes it's not there, and he never was.
Yeah, yeah. Um, Thank you everybody for the questions. I have a couple more and then we'll probably wrap it up. So,
Fair.
you can keep the questions coming, but yeah, let's see. Okay. So the consensus is through the group, and Sen seems to know it, that you guys are gonna go to your home land and probably face your family. And how is Sam feeling about that? I know there's a bit of optimism at this point, but really deep down is what is Sam feeling?
I think a fair amount of that optimism is forced because he's trying a different approach. It's not all forced, but he's trying to break through this wall, this adamantine wall of fear that he's built up over the centuries, and paranoia. and unrealistic views of his family, of just how, like, they are powerful, sure, but they're not gods. Uh, so it's like, and they've faced a god, and so he's trying to be
Mm-hmm.
like, well, we faced a god actually, we faced a chaos phoenix. My family are just, and he would think just, oh, I can't believe I'm saying just, but they're just vampires, probably with some kind of artifacts or something. Oh,
Yeah.
but they're 100% killable.
Yeah.
So that's he's trying to kind of like gas himself up a bit.
Sure.
Um, but there is, I mean, it's not that easy. There's this wall that's still there. It's just he's, instead of breaking through it, he's trying to walk around it. Um, so no, like, he's always gonna feel scared. But when everyone's around him, that gives him just enough juice to kind of give him a, like, one of those spiritual golden or silver shields, if you want to get spiritual with it. To be like, yo, we could do this. It's doable, and it's in fact required at this point.
Mm-hmm.
Yeah. So it's not like I have a choice.
Question for Mama Strange to add to that. Does Sen worry about his friends meeting his family?
He has worries that his friends aren't going to be quick enough on the draw.
Ooh.
Um, because his family are seasoned, several century old in terms of his some of his family, and oh, should I say that about his dad? I don't know. Oh, nah. Well, they're old. I'm gonna say that. I don't want to say how old because I think that's best left.
Mm-hmm.
Like, get in game and find out. Get in game, find
Watch
out.
the show and
What's the
find
show? Find out. And in terms of the rest of the cast, play the game with us and
Yeah.
find out. Um, they've had so much experience, dealing with war and subterfuge, deceit, and potential battlefields, and just the idea that although they've been lucky, these chuckle fucks who have gone around gallivanting around and yeah, fucking fixed a good portion of limbo for the Githzerai, and thwarted the Nightmare King a couple times, and also kind of not another other times, and went toe to toe a bit in occasion in his mind, as well as just kind of doing well, yeah, but it's not been a long time, and that experience factor is something that he's worried about. Is that his family will see them as threats and immediately try and take them out, uh,
Do
without
you
even
do you
speaking.
really think that people who are so conceited and powerful and full of themselves would see the Misfits as a threat?
Uh, he doesn't know, but he thinks his sisters would be quite aloof with it. But his father has never taken anything lightly.
Hmm.
Um, he's the reason he got into the position he's in is because he's always been careful, not afraid, but careful. He's never underestimated a situation. There's a first time for everything, but
Sure.
yeah.
Here's a question that kind of plays into that. Any of the adventuring parties that San has been with in the past, do you think any of them could have faced your family?
Well, a couple of them were taken out by his family,
Oh,
or indirectly.
yeah.
So maybe it was like agents sent or whatever. But there's a couple that were starting to do fairly well. And of course, if there was one with a paladin, and he were like, "Ooh, you hit undead things real good. I like you." But ultimately, no one has had quite this much panache, really,
Hmm.
as the group that he is currently with. So maybe one group possibly, but he still had his huge doubts about that, and it was nothing that he could even really like consider.
Does he have those same doubts right now about the Misfits?
They're as quiet as they'll ever be. They're always going to be there,
Yeah.
because of the pedestal that he's put his family up on in terms of how dastardly powerful and cunning they are.
Mm-hmm.
But he feels that if anyone has a shot at this, that he knows on hand,
Yeah.
it's the party that he's in right now.
Hmm. Um, oh, I love these questions coming in. Thank you, everybody. From Cassius, if San could have one thing to help him defeat his father that I would allow, what would it be?
Divine intervention. I would say,
Oh,
um, yeah, allow, yeah. Uh, I mean, shit. Like, it's on the table. I guess they do tentatively know a god or a godlike being, two of them at
hmm
this point. But therein lies the would they help is the question, and
yeah.
also artifacts would help. Assurances against certain things like something he would think about would be the dominating powers of vampires. He would want to uh, kit out everyone with at least some kind of magical stuff, like maybe artifacts. In game, he would know it as like there is certain magical items that prevent your mind from being addled with. Out of game,
Mm,
it's
hmm
the mind thingy ring. I can't fucking remember. It's a
The
staple.
ring of
It's a
mind
staple.
shielding?
That's one, I think. Yeah,
Yeah,
I'm pretty
but
sure.
Nira has one.
Yeah, that's right.
So
But then that so Nira's already covered. But like that's something that he'd be worried about. It's just like people getting dominated immediately, or
psychically.
charmed, or psychically,
Yeah.
or so. Yeah.
Nira in Limbo got a hurdy-gurdy that if she plays it, no one can be psychically uh, attacked in any way. So,
Anyone?
and, yeah, anyone within 30 feet of her, her companions.
So she's wearing the ring. They can't. Oh, interesting.
So yeah, so she could do a lot with those two things. But yeah, she has the means to maybe protect you guys in certain situations.
Hmm.
So,
I mean, I've already got a holy
um,
sword. The
yeah,
divine avenger. Yeah, I want that. I want
you want a
the holy
divine
avenger.
intervention.
I want a holy avenger. I want divine intervention. It's the end. It's coming to the end of that arc. Probably, I want to find a holy avenger and another fucking floating rock and just being like, yeah, it's no one. It's another fucking sword. It'd be great. Oh man.
Um, kind of on that note, Fallen Angel asks, what has Hope done to surprise you the most? Oh, I want to know this one.
I would say it was when B. Dave Walters was the fucking bad guy. That uh, I mean, I should have seen it coming, honestly, but and I was still pretty miffed that San got on so well with I almost said, a word that only New Zealanders and Australians should say to each other. A unpleasant person.
Yeah.
Um, the character, not the player. The player was fucking awesome, but yeah, that was that. Yeah.
You know what? That's actually one of the most surprising moments for me too, because B Dave kind of took it and ran. He was like,
Mm,
just at the very last moment, he's like, "Hey, what does the bad guy look like?" And I'm like, "It looks like this." And we're like typing to each other, and then he's like, "I turn into the bad guy." And I was just like, "What have you done?" It was so
that's so
entertaining.
funny.
Yeah,
Damn,
so
that's up
he
there
kind of
with
set everything into motion. He
Stab
kind of
Helmet.
yeah, Steph Homit's the bag. Um, yeah, that was a great time.
Yeah, no, that's the one that surprised me the most. In terms of just like things in game, I was like, what the fuck? Oh the fuck! Oh fuck! Um, um, other than that, um,
Other than that, it's been so predictable.
no. It's just I've been very accepting of anything that's been quite like unexpected, because
Mm-hmm.
it's one of those expect the unexpected. I don't know what
Yeah.
you're pulling, but I'm just cruising. Like like I don't know what's happening, but I'm like, oh yeah, cool, man.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Okay. It's because I'm just at this point. I mean, it was the premise from the start. It was dreams, nightmares, anything can happen. So I was like, oh okay. I need to be in that mindset. But the thing that really did actually take me off proper guard was the Be Deaf Waters thing. Yeah.
Yes.
Yep.
That's a good choice. Um, I think I haven't missed any questions. Um, so back in the moment when David scried on San Leon's father, and
Mm,
he learned the when David told everyone what he had seen and heard, San Leon's first response was, or his first reaction was, well, my father's not afraid of anything.
hmm.
Why was he so scared?
Yeah.
What do you think was going on there?
Well, the only thing he could think of was like, like at first he was like, "What the fuck? My father's not afraid of anything. He's always so calm and calculated. Like he's sort of like a Thrawn, if that makes if I was to sum it up, like for anyone who's seen or read the books Star Wars, just think Thrawn, kind of. Is a good push. So he's not afraid of things, but he is like but so him being afraid and kind of like worried, really fucking unnerved San Leon. Like he was like, what the fuck? Why the fuck is he afraid? I've never seen him afraid. I've never seen him afraid. But also immediately he was just like, it's the Nightmare King, isn't it? Like it has to
Mhm.
be, because the only person that could make an actual someone who thinks he's a gift from the gods would be an actual god, or something close to it. And the only one that would he logically went, well, if he's been after me at one point or other, in a recruitment scheme for the Nightmare King's pyramid scheme, um, then the next logical step for the king would be to ensnare his family, which he imagined they would be either very amiable to it or very easy to persuade, because
Mhm.
it's in their interest in terms of what they are and who they are and what they like to do and so on, so on, so on. So that's what was whirring through his head.
Yeah. Do you think in that sense that if San is right about the Nightmare King being involved with his family, does San Leon think perhaps that when he goes to face his family that the Nightmare King will be there?
Oh yeah, yeah. I mean, the Nightmare King, he thinks, has been dogging their steps for a while and just keeps silent tabs on them. But he's in this mindset of the Nightmare King might be watching, yes,
Hmm.
but so long as we just keep collecting things, I mean, you can watch something as much as you like, but if they start getting enough power and such, you can worry anyone.
Hmm.
Um, so he's in this like mindset of like, well, the only way to really fuck with something that could be semi-omnipotent or omnipotent is to just continue on confidently.
Hmm.
Um, so that's what he's been attempting to do, is being like, yeah, well, we just need to be confident in our actions and just keep belittling uh, the king in hopes that he's listening, to throw them off their rhythm,
Threw
and
off
kind
my
of get them,
groove.
yeah, throw off the groove. Excuse me, Ceylon, you've thrown off the Emperor's groove. Sorry. um, but yeah, it's basically to like get them to be irrational. Even like he doesn't know how deities work, but he figures that they're just as much, um, if not more antagonizable than mortals are, because of their hubris.
What does San think his father's nightmare is?
Um, God, I mean, I don't think he's ever thought like his father has ever had nightmares, so Sandon
Mm-hmm.
wouldn't be thinking this. But if he were to think about this, it would be losing everything that he's gained, losing his power, losing his station, losing his grip on everything,
Mm-hmm.
becoming that which a vampire, uh, or a traditional vampire at least, would worry about would be going backwards, becoming vampire spawn, becoming uh, out of control. Everything is not under their thumb, and they are now back to square one.
Mm-hmm.
Um, that is what I believe he would be. Um, he's so he believes he's in enough control that the only things I think that he would worry about in terms of like, oh, an opposing figure or an opposing faction or something would might be like some protege cleric maybe that is amassing something, but he's like that's not going to happen because he's created a shadow network, so that's what he would not worry about. Um, so I think yeah, it's like losing his power would probably be his biggest fear. Is what I think at least. Is what something would think.
Interesting. All right. Well, I think I'm going to end it on this.
Hmm.
Do I want to divulge this? Oh, I kind of want to ask this question, but I don't want to spoil anything. Let me think. Can I word this? Is San prepared to die?
His never would die. He's okay with that situation, provided it now amounts to something. So he's he's got things he cares about in the world now, and he's got things that he would protect and fight for. So in one aspect, yes. In another, less than he was. So one, he would be prepared to die for those that he's fighting for. But at the other hand, he would not want to because now he has things that he actually legitimately appreciates, and he would like to continue doing so. Um, so it's a bit of a double-edged sword.
Hmm. I think I'm really interested in seeing, because I'm not going to ask this as a question, because we're going to see pretty soon here, but I'm really interested in seeing what San Leon asks the dwarves to turn his golden skeleton into.
A
So,
golden mech, just a big mech suit that just
a big
like
mech suit.
so
Oh my God.
oh my god,
Um,
yep, blasters on.
yeah, I think that uh, I think we're going to end it on that question. We're going to end it on
Yeah, fair.
would would Sandion be ready and willing to die? So, we have a lot coming up, you guys, in the next couple of episodes. We're
Oh yeah.
nearing some really big things. I hope that you guys, thank you everyone who has joined us tonight. Um, really, really wonderful questions. I really, wait, what? Oh, you want me to ask Duval's question? My bad, my bad. Okay, 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 okay.
Sure.
Okay. We'll do Duval's question as a rapid fire ending. I don't know exactly how it goes, but basically, I'm going to say one of the character names or one of the performer names, and you have to do a quick word association. So, whoever I say, it's the first word that pops into your head. I
Oh
think that's how
sure.
it goes. All right. Okay, ready?
Mm.
Nira.
Joy.
April.
Joy. Uh,
Duval.
like ah shit. With all the love loud.
uh, Kotatar.
Stoic.
David.
Dad.
What?
Yeah, like
Dad?
fatherly figure.
Oh,
Like a
okay. I thought you
fatherly
said
figure. Yeah,
dead.
yeah. Because he's just like, oh,
Uh,
I'm cooking breakfast for everyone. I'm
yeah.
doing this. don't you know? Don't you know? Yeah.
How about Lee?
Father, because no, no, no.
Yeah.
No. Let me rescind that one. Warm.
Warm. I like that.
Yep.
Silva.
Mm, mysterious, I guess.
Danny.
Hmm. Potential.
Um, Damien.
Safe.
I like that. Reginald.
Hmm. Development.
Nightmare King.
Not gonna say that word. Um, that is a word explicitly for Australians and New Zealanders and potentially British people. I will not say that one. Um, threat.
Hope.
Fantastic.
Ah.
Got him.
Well, on that one, we will end tonight. Good job. Good job. Awesome. Thank you guys, everyone, for watching. Daniel, where can people find you?
People can find me on Twitter, or the Roman numeral for 10, I guess. And you can also find me. I mean, I would say Twitch and YouTube, but I haven't been doing anything on there for ages. So Twitter, sorry, is the best one to find me. For things such as if you want art done, or if you want voice acting, or if you just want to follow my shenanigans, it would be under either, and I will just double check because I am a smart individual who does this kind of thing, and uh it's under at Tartan underscore Kiwi or Daniel DENOVA VA.
Are
You can find
your
me there.
commissions open?
They frequently open and close as slots open. I take up to 6 commissions at a time. And then after that, I sort of basically hard close it unless it's one that I know I can bang it out in an hour kind of deal. So at the moment, uh, they're about to close because I have a lot of commissions to do. But they open and close frequently. It's the best thing to do is just ask me if they are or not at the time. Yeah.
Okay. Well, thank you so much, Daniel. This has been so much fun and so insightful. I wish I could just talk to you for hours, but let's end on a high. And thank you everyone for your questions and
Yeah.
everybody being here with us in chat, everyone who watches the VOD on YouTube. And I think this is also going to be in the podcast. So thank you for listening if you made it this far. And we will be back next week with more Misfits of Alseta. What's going to happen? Oh, we're going to have a special guest, Michael Coleman, coming into play from Attackers of Opportunity. So it'll be a really interesting and fun time. We'll see how it goes. So
Oh yeah.
anyway, we hope to see you next week. All right.
And
Until
thanks for
then.
hosting as well.
Oh, you
Yeah.
got it. Bye, everybody.
Oh shit. Shit.